We're now ready to create the core. As a guide, I've created some lines for where my walls need to go. And from the Tools palette, the Design group, I'll right-click on Wall, and I'm going to pick Apply Tool Properties to Line Work. I'm going to select my lines, right-click, and I'll choose Erase Layout Geometry. I'm going to make sure that my walls are set to baseline. I'm going to change them to 5 inches, and I'm going to change the height to 12 feet. Press Escape. And we now have our walls drawn. I'll go ahead and place some doors in here. Let's go over to the Tools palette and the Doors palette. In the Design group, I'm going to pick Hinged Single. I'm going to check in my Properties palette to make sure I'm set to 3 feet by 7 feet. My offset is 6 inches, and my threshold is set at 0. I'll go ahead and place some doors. I'm going to pick that wall and put the door 6 inches up. Put that one over 6 inches, pick that wall, put that one up 6 inches, and put that one in over 6 inches. Press Escape. I'm now going to add openings to my corridor. Let me go to the Door drop-down and choose Opening. I will double check the size in the Properties palette, set that to 5 feet, and go ahead and pick on my walls and pick a spot towards the center. Openings don't have quite the same ability to center, and we'll pick a spot on the wall at the other end. Press Escape. We could go ahead and adjust those to be exactly centered. I need one more door into this closet area, so I'll select one of my 3-foot doors. I'll choose Add Selected from the General panel, pick on my wall, place my last door, press Escape. From Content Browser, I'm going to get some bathroom layouts to create a men's room and a women's room. I'll go up to the Build panel, Tools drop-down, and pick Content Browser. Choose the Design Catalog, slide down to the Mechanical section, and under Plumbing Fixtures we'll come to Layouts. I have a restroom for men and a restroom for women. I'll go ahead and eyedrop in the men's restroom. Let me minimize Content Browser. In my Insert dialog box I have the name of my block. I'll pick OK, and I'll pick a spot for that. And I'll go back to Content Browser and choose the women's bathroom. Drag and drop that with the eyedropper. Dismiss Content Browser, choose OK for that, and pick a spot for placing the women's bathroom. I'll go ahead and put that outside of my area as well. I'll begin by drawing a line from the insertion point of both of these blocks and pick a spot. I'll select that. This time I'll copy it from the end point there over to the insertion point of the other block. Press Escape. I'm now going to select the women's room block and I'll explode that. I only need 2 stalls, so I'm going to get rid of one of my stalls and move the other 2 down. Let me zoom in on that. I'll pick the last stall in place, erase that, and erase that piece of wall out. Erase that piece of wall out, and I will move all of these others down. Let me select those. I'll go over to Home. I'll choose Move. I'll go ahead and select the endpoint of my wall and pick a spot that's perpendicular. Press Escape. I'll now go ahead and move this into the bathroom area, so I'll select my layout. Again, I'll go over to the Home tab. I'll choose the Move tool from the endpoint, from the original insertion point, to my endpoint in my bathroom intersection. I need to make some adjustments, so I'll use the Stretch tool to stretch this door over. From the drop-down under Modify, I'll choose the Stretch tool, and I'll stretch my wall and door from the endpoint and pick at the end of my wall. The counter is actually a wall style, and I can just pick the end and drag that down. Press Escape, and I now have my women's room laid out. Let me mirror the men's room, so I'll select the block and the original line that I drew, and I'll go back to the Home tab. From the Modify drop-down, choose Mirror. I'll pick a spot on the screen, dragging straight down, and I'll choose Yes to delete the original objects. Let me choose that block, and I'll go and explode that. and I will select all the objects back to the Home tab and the Move tool from the endpoint of that line that I drew to the intersection in the bathroom, and again we'll use the Stretch tool to stretch that over. So from my Modify drop-down, I'll choose Stretch, pick the door and the wall, Enter, pick a spot on the wall, Shift and right-click, choose Perpendicular, and pick my wall. I'll take out one of the urinals and move that wall down. I'll select that urinal, I'll delete it by pressing the Delete key, and I'll delete the toilet partition. And now I'll take the wall and the two sinks, and I will use the Move tool, and I'll move those down from the endpoint of the counter to the endpoint of the partition. And I can grab my wall and drag that up to where it meets the end of the other wall. Okay, let's go ahead and I'll get rid of my two lines. I don't need any more. Press Delete, zoom in, and we'll place our elevators. Again, from Content Browser, I'll go ahead and choose from the Tools pull-down Content Browser. This time I'm going to use the search and type in the word elevator, pick Go. It searches through my catalogs and it should find some elevators for me. I'll choose the elevator catalog. I have something called Square. I'll go ahead and use the eyedropper, drag and drop that into my drawing, close Content Browser, and I'll pick a spot on the endpoint of my wall and drag up from there, press Escape. Move that down a little bit using the Move tool from the Home tab. Move that down. And then I'll copy it, again selecting it, Home tab, copy, pick a spot, drag up, pick a second spot, press Escape. From here we will take our drawings and create a view of the ground floor.